We're live. Right, good afternoon, all. I know some places they're going to be tuned in the morning. Today we've got Rebecca Heald. Please tell me I've said that right. Yep, okay. She does podcasts on LinkedIn and I think YouTube as well.
Yeah, we've got a podcast as well that's on, we do it through Buzzsprout, so it's on iTunes, Apple, whatever it is, Spotify and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. We've got Rebecca. She does podcasts practically all over the place about nutrition and self-care. And I thought, you know what? Let's change it where she gets put under the microscope now, and we get to know Rebecca. Obviously, self-care is critical. This is what we're going to be talking about, how it can have a positive impact on our mental and physical health. She also is in the nutrition department, as well as Jeff Ash, who we had on the other night. And all I'm going to say is welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Now, obviously, before we get all into the nutrition and the mental health side, we want to know is, who is Rebecca Heald?
Great question. First and foremost, I am a mother. I think that's really important. So my primary role is to be the mother to my two boys, Luca and Leo. And obviously I'm also a nutritionist. So I have my business, which is transformational nutrition. And I'm a nutrition coach. So I work with people on healing their relationships with food, on developing, a better relationship with food, their body, their mind, etc. So self-care is so important. So when I work with people, people think, oh, nutritionist, she just works with people with their food. No, that's not the case. I work with people. I work with the whole person. I'm really interested in the person in front of me. Obviously, nutrition plays a huge role, but I know that in order to build a healthy relationship with food, you also need to be making sure that you're looking after yourself holistically.
Exactly. So would you say you can read people?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I'm just good at asking questions.
Oh, yeah. It's answering them you need to think about.
Yeah, I know. That's what I need to do today.
Exactly. Now, obviously, we know how mental health is one of the biggest problems in today's society, not just in the UK. So I've got to say is, what does mental health mean to you?
Yeah, good question. I mean, everybody has mental health. Okay. I think that's really, really important to point out. But obviously there's a spectrum, isn't there? And I often think about it kind of, as a bit of a slide. Okay. Got a hair bubble there, but you've got at the top of the slide here, you've got, good mental health. And then here you've got poor mental health. And I think, it's an accumulation, isn't it, to get from here to here. But if you can make sure that you are kind of tackling the small things in the early stages, make sure that you're being consistent in terms of looking after yourself, then this is where we can prevent it from becoming too much of a slippery slope. And, this is kind of where you're possibly going to be needing that support and that intervention, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, I actually made that point of about bullies the other day, because obviously I know they can have a massive impact on someone's mental health, bullying, all aspects of it. And I thought it was climbing the ladder and they were bringing you down to their level, but really it's not. I actually had Lorraine Harris on the other day, and he actually thinks the strategies, instead of having it levels, turn it horizontal. So their mental health is, you've got the good side, you've got bad side, but instead have it balanced in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great.
So,
yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. No. That's great. I love that. I talk a lot about, because obviously when we're talking about nutrition and we talk about balance and we talk about energy balance and all that kind of stuff, that's exactly how I would think about it. So yeah, that's perfect way of looking at it.
Absolutely. And I know we've all got our own, whether it's meditation, yoga, breathing techniques, medication. I try and prevent people from turning to medication.
Yes.
I try and prevent that because there is always alternatives.
And
all we can do is encourage it.
Yeah, well, I just mentioned that earlier because I've got back into, for me, there are various different things that I do to try and look after my mental health. I'm not saying that it's always been that way. I think we've all got a story to tell and we've all been on a journey. But I think right now for me, what's really helping me to manage my, kind of, I suppose, stress levels, anxiety, etc., which obviously, of course, impacts mental health, is running. And I think, like I said today, the research shows that actually running can be as effective as medication for treating, mild to moderate depression.
Yeah, I saw your video.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you did tag me, so yeah, that's probably why I saw it.
I did tag you. You're right. Yes, I did.
You did. But yeah, it's because it's nature.
Yeah, this is it. This is it, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to run. Okay, not everybody likes to run, but just getting out in nature. That's been really, really important for my children as well with their mental health. Prior to the pandemic, during the pandemic, getting out, doing nature walks, things like that has been really, really helpful for them. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that what you meant? Sorry.
No. It's all about your views, this podcast. This what it's about. It's breaking that stigma, that cycle. And obviously, like I said, I bring people from all across the world. And I just love how there's different views, but all from the same spectrum. And that's how powerful this can be, mental health.
Funny you mentioned that. I was talking about stigma the other day, and I was talking about, I'm going to ask you a question now.
Oh, go on then.
So what's the difference between stigma and bias? How do you see it?
Stigma, I'd say it's you're withholding that information from the world, and you're withholding your inner self to actually. But yeah, again, when it comes to the inner self, that's actually both bias and the stigma. You're actually refusing to let your inner self come out of that shell, and I believe the inner self is more important than what you say in day-to-day life.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Because the what we put out there, I think, is just it's just a fraction of what's going on underneath, isn't it?
Exactly.
And
It's just
a lot. Yeah,
it's just scratching the surface is what you see.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this is why people need to have that better understanding before they actually start judging people. Because as the saying goes, you can't judge a book by its cover.
No, I think the thing is, for me, stigma is when, I guess, and yes, similar to what you said there, but for me, I think stigma is when somebody just actually experiences that kind of discrimination, I guess. And like you say, and then it affects them, and then it affects how they react and how they live their inner and their outer life, I guess.
Exactly.
But I think just what you said there as well, I think, we do all have bias. You spoke about judging people. I think, we're human beings. It's always there. But I think it's about being curious about your biases, where they come from, and trying to question them, isn't it? So that you don't then judge.
Exactly. And I know I can't give a rough estimate of what the percentage is, but it's definitely high. There's a lot of people, when they become parents, they're trying to do the opposite what their parents track them. Yeah, I'm the same. Because obviously I was abused by both parents, and now I wouldn't touch a hair on my kids.
No.
I wouldn't.
No, I think that's it. It's about breaking the cycle, isn't it? And I think that's really important, actually, because that's, definitely kind of my, they are everything to me. My children are everything because of the experiences that I had, and I don't want to, I don't want them to suffer like I did. And it's funny because I was having this conversation the other day, and I was saying that I think when you can have that self-awareness, when you can understand how your experiences have impacted you, you can hopefully then, change things moving forward, can't you?
Exactly. And this is what I put on your live the other day with Jeff on LinkedIn, how kids are practically, you can actually compare kids to being like a recording device.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are. They record absolutely everything from their atmosphere, their environment, to talk. Yeah, they record everything.
Yeah.
And then when they're older, they actually use that against you. Well, I'm glad my kids are not old yet.
How old are you?
But in the end, they are. How old are they? They are 9 and 7.
Oh, mine are 10 and 7.
Yeah, my son's 10 in January.
Oh, okay. My son just turned 10 in November. They were both 10 and 7, so they must be in similar year 5 and year 2. I had to think about that.
How did you have to think about that?
I know.
No, my son's in year 4, and one of my daughters, because I've got 3 kids.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, but one's not in my care as of yet.
Okay.
I'm fighting for her. Obviously, she's 5. She could turn 6 this year in April. But yeah, my 9-year-old, he's practically a calculator.
Yeah.
He is, due to his autism.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But even then, autism, that can have a massive impact on your mental health.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess you kind of, you can see that more than anybody.
Yeah. So what's your views on that?
What, on autism and mental health?
Yeah.
I think, again, it's about, I think a lot of it comes down to, doesn't it? It comes down to stigma and kind of how people are treated and perceived. And I think that is where for me, often where the issues with mental health come from as well, because, and I spoke about this when I wrote an article actually, which I just posted this morning on LinkedIn, about how, it's so important that we create safety within our children. We want them to feel safe. We want them to feel that they are, safe in their own skin, that they are safe in their own bodies. And I think it's when they experience stigma, when they experience discrimination, when they're seen as, when the world looks different for them, I think that's when the mental health issues can become difficult.
Absolutely, yeah, because obviously my 9-year-old, he knows how passionate I am about this, and he's always asking, oh, how many subscribers have you got today on YouTube? Like, he does that practically daily.
Yeah.
And that's on good days. But he actually wants to learn about mental health, and he's only 9, so I believe.
Wow.
And the better he can learn it, because they should teach him young.
Yeah.
About mental health, because obviously we know, like, obviously a massive article which I posted. I know it's having a massive response to how that 10-year-old went to A&E because he self-harmed.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how it is.
And yeah, I mean, in terms of teaching, I think my kind of take on this, similar to my take on nutrition, really, is it's about modeling, and it's about encouraging children to have the skills and the tools to be able to self-regulate.
Exactly.
And to be able to, to again feel safe, happy and confident in their own skin, and trust their own bodies, trust their own minds. And I don't think it necessarily comes from being explicit about things. It comes from modeling things and, kind of demonstrating things. I do think the schools are doing more of it, because the boys are definitely now, because my boys will often talk about, how they're doing yoga at school, how they've done stuff around self-expression, how they, and it's great. I think they're better than they were in that respect. Nutrition education, however, I think could kind of, be a little bit more
touching up on, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I love. Yes, Tegan. This is my daughter.
All right. Okay. Hello.
Come here. Right, just come here. Come here. What?
Hello.
There you go.
Hello.
By the way, you're live on YouTube. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, I'll get you one shortly, okay? I'll get you one shortly.
I think mine are engrossed in my youngest at the minute. He's engrossed in learning. He's watching documentaries on natural disasters right now. He's like a walking encyclopedia.
Exactly. But anyway, yeah, just bonding with the kids and even animals, they can have a massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And do you know what? My kids are desperate for a dog. But it would be really good for them. And I remember a couple of years ago when we were all really struggling, and I think that's when I thought about getting a dog. But I thought I just, you need to commit, and it's at the time I was struggling with my mental health and my children's mental health. But they had a counsellor who had a dog, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, we've got cats here. Too many of them. I blame the partner with that one. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, just stroking an animal for stroking an animal for half an hour, that can actually reduce your depression rates, anxiety rates. Yeah. And
you know what that is? I've never really. Yeah, I mean, I think kind of from the work with my children and stuff like that, that's how I understood about how animals can be therapeutic and stuff like that. But do you know why that is? Is it because of the calming effect? Is it because
it's definitely a soothing strategy? Yeah, because especially like female cats, they just come to you mostly to the males because I don't know why. I don't know, but I just go along with the flow. Yeah. It is. It's just soothing, and it really is relaxing.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've actually learned that when you're stroking a cat and they've got the claws into you, obviously we did push them away at first, but after doing a little bit of research, it's actually showing that they're content and happy when they've got the claws out. So yeah, so I believe animals can have mental health as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's just breaking that cycle. It is, because I know it affects our mindset daily.
Mental health, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Of course it does. And for me, like you said about breaking the cycle, for me it's about self-awareness, isn't it? And it's about, the daily things that you do to look after yourself, because this is the thing, and this is what I think, is so important, is that self-care. If you are not, taking care of your basic needs, then that's when your mental health can really suffer.
Yeah. I stay away from the news.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't watch much of the news. Then people laugh at me because, I'm like, for me, again, that's protecting my mental health.
Yeah, exactly. The reason I don't watch it is because, well, I've got my opinions anyway, because I believe they just don't know what they're talking about. But when they say the words, you have to stay social distance, I've not once complied to that.
Really?
Yeah, not once, because... Yeah, fair enough. I have not left the house since last year because obviously I've been busy with like podcasts and stuff like that. But I've actually never been so social connected to others via Zoom, online. And I just thought, wow, there are people out there. And all you need to do is just reach out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. What's your thoughts then on kind of... because it is connection, isn't it? We are, and this is, I do think that, there is going to be the aftermath of the pandemic, I think is, well, we just don't know, do we? We don't know. We're social creatures, aren't we? Human beings are social creatures. We're supposed, it's so important. And this is why diets are so difficult, why I say, fad dieting and all that stuff just doesn't work in the long run, because it affects your social functioning. Yeah. And I think for me, I get what you mean. Obviously Zoom, or, the world's become such a smaller place, I think, with the pandemic. But what are your thoughts on kind of that one-to-one, that face-to-face interaction? How important do you think that is?
Well, before I actually answer that, I believe the word social distance, that can actually be seen as a trigger to someone.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. And obviously just July last year, someone I personally know actually committed suicide because of that.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a shame, to be honest, but with the one-to-one...
Well, not just one-to-one, I mean like face-to-face, like kind of, because obviously there is a difference. There is a difference between connecting with someone on Zoom or through a screen to actually connecting with somebody face,
I believe there's no difference, to be honest. Yeah, I don't believe there's any difference, because people with mental health, people with autism, we all need that social interaction with people. And if you're just going to be isolated, you're going to be traumatic because of it, and you're going to become depressed. And it's like, you're going to start talking to yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're going to argue with yourself.
I do that anyway. I find talking to myself quite therapeutic sometimes. And I'll do affirmations in the morning. I'll say them out loud to myself in the mirror. Probably, yeah. My kids think I'm mad, but But yeah, no, it's interesting because I do think there is a place. I agree with you. I think, online, because, I'm on my own with my kids, the only way I've been able to stay connected with people is through Zoom, through, WhatsApp videos, through FaceTime, stuff like that. But I don't know. I do think it does take something away. I don't know. I think I do think that you can't be kind of being around somebody, but that's just me potentially. Potentially it's also because I think sometimes it can be, I think, screen time and stuff like that, it can be a lot more tiring than being in front of somebody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And obviously too much in front of the screen. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna damage your eyes. But if you get into a real good conversation, you're gonna forget the screen's actually there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I've had that with a friend on many occasions where I was speaking to him on a video call, and next thing we're like 2.5 hours into a conversation. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's like me and Jeff every week. When we do our podcast, and it's like, wow, where did that time go? Yeah, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean when you're in a conversation. But I think sometimes, I don't know, I just think with screens, with doing it this way, the silences sometimes can be a little bit more awkward than if someone was here with you, next to you. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. That's just, I think there's a place. I do think that coming out of this pandemic, more of this will go on, and I think that's good. I do think that's good, because I think people were running themselves into ground, traveling too much, having lengthy meetings in person that were not necessary. So I do think that more of this is going to happen, which I do think is good. But I don't know. I do think that not being able to be around people, the social distancing, all that kind of stuff, I think I'm just over it. I'm just so over it. It's like, it's just, I understand. We need to keep people safe. I know we need to keep people safe, but it's hard. It really, really is hard. And like you said there about the person that who, unfortunately committed suicide, I think, it just brings it home really, doesn't it?
It does.
How much, we are social creatures.
Yeah, it does. And it's like, where do we look for the truth? Yeah. I believe we look for the truth within our inner self.
We are so oppressed. Society oppresses us in so many ways.
It does.
It does. I think, and even going back to what you're talking about, with autism, with that, and I just think, you automatically, as soon as you get a diagnosis, there's this stigma, there's this discrimination, and there's this oppression, and I think that can significantly impact on on everybody's mental health, not just the child's mental health, if it's a child, you know, like you were saying there, but also everybody around them, the family as well. Because they're almost sometimes, because of the stigma and because of the bias, I think there's a lot more pressure, isn't there?
Yeah. See, obviously, yeah,
go on. Sorry.
Yeah, because obviously before my son was actually diagnosed with autism, I didn't even know what autism was. I didn't. And obviously, when I came across mental health on Facebook, I didn't even know mental health existed either.
We've all got mental health.
Exactly. And I was actually diagnosed when I was a minor, but I didn't know. But yeah, going back, you really are right, spot on with the discrimination, because we are living in a discriminated world.
Because I think the thing is society wants to put everybody in boxes, you know, and you know, and we're not. No two people are the same. We are all in, and this is what kind of, and I think this is where I was going, because you said before, it's about what's underneath the surface, isn't it? And it's about the individual, and you know, no two people are the same. And I think, but the society kind of, you know, it generalizes everything. It wants to put guidelines in place. It wants to put things in, you know, and I'm not saying that there is not a need for that sometimes, in terms of making sure that they can manage services, making sure that they can, you know, distribute policy, etc. Sorry, going a little bit, you know,
No, carry on.
I'm not political at all, but I think it's about, you know, okay, this is what we're looking at a government level. This is what we're thinking about at a population level. But actually, how does that suit me as an individual? You know, rather than, people can get themselves so stressed out, so anxious about things, because they're thinking, I need to do it this way, I need to do it that way, I need to fulfill XYZ expectation, rather than thinking, actually, how can I interpret that so that it suits me and it fits in with my life and my lifestyle? And I see this a lot, and I think it's really, really important when it comes to mental health. Yeah. I think as well, I see it a lot in, you know, in the health, in the physical health world as well, with dieting and weight and things like that. People think, I've got to do it this way, I've got to eat this way, I've got to exercise X amount, rather than thinking, right, I'm going to take that into consideration, but how does it sit with me? How does it feel? If it makes me feel anxious, if it doesn't sit well with me, then I need to rethink it, rather than living my life in that constant state of insecurity, I guess, because then that's when the mental health issues become an issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bang on with the insecurity. And I'm going to add to that, because education, I'm going to pick on that, because I believe they are pushing these children to meet government guidelines.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That's what it's about. And instead of actually focusing on what that child can actually do, on what they can offer. Yeah.
Totally agree. You know, I'm an ex-teacher. So.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm picking on that, because obviously, as we all know, it's Children's Mental Health Week this week, and yeah, it's just.
I was talking about this earlier, actually, because my youngest son, you know, he's incredibly bright. Definitely more to it, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. But you know, he's just amazing. He really, really is. And it's not being, you know, his school are fantastic. His school are really, I'm not gonna, but I don't think he's being nurtured as well as he could be, because he's in a big class. The school's got expectations, it's got guidelines, it's got, you know, things, you know, testing to do, and to make sure that they're meeting government expectations, like you said. So, you know, I was just having this conversation today where I was saying, if he was in a school, a smaller school or something like that, then I think that it would be, you know, his individual needs would be met differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I can just say
to be able to, sorry, and and it's difficult because, you know, obviously for him to be in a smaller school like that, I would have to pay. He'd have to go to a private school. I can't afford to do that. So, you know, and this inequality, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously with my son being 9, I still remember when he was in, because he's in year 4 now, and when he was in reception, so he was only like 3-4 years old. He had three at the time. He was, and obviously the teacher put out this grid. It was numbers 1 to 100, and every morning she kept mixing that up, and there was 30 children in that class. 29 of them couldn't do it. They couldn't put them back into order, but Lucas straight away. Yeah. And it got to the point where he got rewarded for doing good work and stuff like that. So he got a bit of computer time. He actually hacked into the year 3 maths on a computer.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously when we challenge him, because we're doing homeschool with him now, and he's finding year 4 maths really easy, because maths is his strongest connection at the minute with numbers, which obviously I introduced him via a snakes and ladders grid. That's how I introduced him to numbers.
Really?
Yeah, via snakes and ladders grid. And then ever since, he can do like year 5, year 6, even year 7 level maths.
Wow, that's incredible.
Exactly. And this is what he is. So we was explaining to him, the more you do this and you continue, because we're pushing maths is where we're pushing it. And the more he does it, the more he's going to end up becoming in, like, I don't know, an archaeologist or something like that. So ever since,
what Leo wants to do.
Yeah, so ever since, he asked us for a tape measure, so we give him a tape measure. He was going around the house measuring everything. So I'm like, right, push it, go for it then.
Yeah.
But he was learning, but he didn't know he was learning.
Yeah, yeah. And encouraging that as well. You know, I think it's funny because I was talking to Leo earlier, and you know, I was saying, God, you know, he educates me on so much. He was talking, I can't remember what he was talking about this morning. We were doing, actually, you're probably, I've got, you can't see, but in front of me, I've got a world map, huge world map, a huge world puzzle and map as well. Anyway, so he's been educating me on all the continents, all the countries. And he was saying, and I said to him, you know, I said something, yeah, Mummy, I'm clever, aren't I, Mummy? I'm really clever. Yeah, because obviously he hears that all the time. So and I'm like, yeah, you are, baby. I said, but just remember, I said that it's all about learning and growing, and, you know, and keep learning, because he loves learning. And I guess my point here is as well is that sometimes I think children can get stuck in kind of a fixed mindset where it's either, and I think sometimes education can, what's the word I'm looking for? Education can kind of exacerbate this, I think, because it's kind of like you've got your bright kids, you've got your not so bright kids, you've got your middle of the road kids. And I think sometimes that can encourage that kind of, that fixed mindset of I am here and that's the only, you know, I can never kind of push that ceiling. But, you know, I think when you've got a growth mindset, when you know that, yeah, okay, you know, you're like Leo, he's clever, but he can grow, he can get better, he can always push himself. Otherwise, you can be kind of stuck in that kind of, yeah, I'm clever and it's okay, we do. And it's the same, the other end of the spectrum. So I'm going off on a tangent a little bit here, but it's the same on the other end of the spectrum. You know, children that feel that they're maybe not as clever as everybody else in the class. Yeah. And then they kind of get stuck in this, well, I'm never going to, and this is when you can get disaffection, etc. So sorry, I've gone on a bit of a tangent.
No, you're right. Because it's like taking one step forward, but 2 steps back.
Well, yeah, I think my point is just that, you know, I think we need to encourage and nurture, don't we? We need to encourage children to want to learn, to want to grow. Because, you know, if they believe that they can continually enhance and improve. And I said to Leo today, I said, Mummy was really bright when she was little. I said, in a different way. I said, you know, she wasn't a walking encyclopedia like you, but I remember I was reading really, really early on. I think when I was 2, I was reading the weather forecast and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah. And I said, but Mummy's still learning. I said, Mummy's nearly 40 and she's still learning, you know, because it's an ongoing journey, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. See, I still remember, like it was yesterday, my son Lucas's one-to-one teacher pulled me and said, he's been year 4 today, and this was only when he was in year 1. I'm like, right, okay, fair enough. Because they were learning about planets in year 4. So I'm like, right, okay, because he was obsessed with that at the time. Probably still is.
Yeah, Leo's.
And they were learning about dwarf planets. See, I thought, well, what are dwarf planets? Because I never learned them when I was growing up in school. I never. And the year 4 teacher was saying to class, oh, there's only 3 dwarf planets. Lucas stood up in front of the whole of year 4 and said, no, there isn't. There's 5. And she went, right, so can you name them? So we named them. And then she went onto Google and there's the names.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Incredible.
Exactly. It just shows you just cannot underestimate children these days.
No.
You just cannot.
No. How was the teacher? I mean, yeah, was she, I guess.
She was shocked. She was shocked.
Yeah.
But obviously this was in the old school. Obviously we brought him out now. And he's doing even better in this current school now. Cool. But yeah. But anyway, back to this.
We digress.
What's next for Rebecca? Like with the podcast, mental health. What's next?
In terms of business, in terms of
everything.
What's next? Right. Okay. So yeah, I've got a plan. You know, I've got lots going on at the moment, personally and professionally. But yeah, with the business, it's still early days. You know, it's quite a new. Well, I set up the business nearly 3 years ago, but I changed everything. Kind of, you know, took a step back. But beginning of this time last year, kind of when the pandemic first started last year, I kind of took a step back, and that's where I kind of thought, okay, where's my business going, and how does it align with my values? Okay, so I thought, you know, I know how important it is for people to kind of stop being oppressed by diet culture, stop being oppressed by, you know, weight stigma, fat phobia, etc. And kind of, I think sometimes, you know, people in the industry can sometimes exasperate that. So I'm going off on one a little bit here, but so I kind of took a step back and I thought, I want to work with people on developing a healthy relationship with food so that can obviously impact all areas of their life. So I've been, my point is that I've been working hard on building my business in a new way over the last year or so. And I'd say the last 6 months, it has, it's really, really picked up. It's doing, you know, it's doing great. I've been really focusing on my one-to-one. Obviously with, I mean, you know, I've still got a day job. I still work in education. I still work in schools. I'm on my own with 2 children. So there's only so much I can do with my business at the minute. So there's only so many clients I can take. But moving forward, I want to start developing the podcast more, doing more of my podcasts, doing more workshops. I've got a webinar actually that I'm doing, a free webinar that I'm doing on Tuesday evening. So I want to do more of those, more of my workshops so that I can spread more awareness. Yeah. Because I don't think people really necessarily understand how it is that I work and, you know, the real impact that I am having on people's lives. I think people think, oh yeah, I'm a nutritionist, but actually the clients that I work with, I'm changing their lives, you know. And that sounds like really, but you know, I kind of am getting them to look at things from a new perspective and think about how it all holistically works. So
with this webinar, where can people find you?
So my website, you can book onto my webinar through my website. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. So, you know, I'm constantly posting there. So there's a link where you can just register. I can send you the link if you like, where people can register for that. Yeah. But if you go to my website, which is transformationalnutrition.co.uk, you can book through there. There's a really obvious link for that. If you go on any of my social media, it's really obvious as well. So yeah, I'm wanting to, that's kind of to promote awareness about how it is that I work, and to develop the workshops as well. And I'm looking at doing some group, like I've been really, really focusing on the one-to-one, but I am looking actually, I am looking right now for, I'm going to start trialing my one-to-one program in a group format. So I'm looking for 5 to 7 people to start a group program with me, which I'm going to be doing half price first time round, just to see how it works and get some testimonials. So yeah, so that's where I'm going with at the moment.
Brilliant. Yeah, send me the information and I will put that into the description. But obviously I can't even get my words out now. But yeah, you've been awesome. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Please do not be a stranger.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm gonna have to interview you and Jeff at the same time.
Do you know? I did think that. I did absolutely think that, and you'll have to come onto our podcast if you're happy to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm more than welcome to. Yes.
I did say when Jeff mentioned that he was going on your podcast, I was like, oh, we should do something together. And he said, but you had a couple of other people. I think it was on Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. We should absolutely do one together.
Yeah, well, with StreamYard, you can have up to 6 people anyway. And there was only 4 of us, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm open. I'm an open book. I can get the story out there.
Me too.
Absolutely. But yeah, thanks
How
for
long have
coming
you been
on.
doing this?
How long have I been doing this? Just over a year. Just over a year. Yeah. But I've been qualified 2 years.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Nerves still kicking.
Yes. But do you know why? Because you care, because you're passionate, and you know, this is like me, no matter what. I get nervous the first time I talk to a client. I get nervous every time I do something like this. I've spoken to you about that. I get nervous. I do a lot of videos on social media. I get nervous every time I do that. Yeah, but it's because we care, isn't it? Absolutely. We care about people and we want to make a difference.
And that's what it's about. So on that note, I'm going to end this podcast and I will share this everywhere. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and a lot. And please share it with someone.
Social media than me then.
Yes. All right. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.